Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Naked and Noisy podcast where I'm sorry, I haven't started this podcast off with an intro in a really long time. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a scripting mindset manifestation tool and technique that will really help you overcome a hurdle and any blockages that you might feel that you're experiencing en route to your manifestations. I'm going to give you examples from my real life, and I'm going to give you one scripting prompt that's going to change yours. My name is Natalie Hughes. I am a life mindset and manifestation coach. I'm also the host of this podcast. You are now listening to Naked and Noisy Manifestation Tools for the Professional Woman. I'm super excited. Let's get into this. Now, you guys are supposed to get episodes from me every single Monday, but I have not officially ended season 3 because I'm just not ready. I'm not ready to take my full-on break, but I have been needing a lot of breaks. I've been going through a lot of stuff. 2025 was a very challenging year for me. And it's interesting that that would come out of my mouth in that way, because obviously we're in June of 2025, but really it was just a lot of turbulent months. And now me dealing with me allowing the momentum of those months to subside. I'll talk more about that in a second. So as I've been dealing with these different changes, regulating my nervous system, dealing with certain disappointments and frustrations and stories of abandonment coming up, the podcast has not come out every 2 weeks. It's fine. We'll all live. If at any point you want more of my energy or my teachings, I have so many programs. I'm an excellent teacher. I'm a wonderful educator. I truly believe in my programs. I suggest you get into them if you want to, or just wait for the next episode. Do what you like. Okay, so first things first, in manifestation, they tell you, specific. Let's be more specific. In Law of Attraction, Abraham Hicks teachings, they'll tell you, do not focus on the unwanted, because focusing on the unwanted brings more unwanted, right? Like attracts like. So if you, for example, are focusing on my health is not good, my health is not good, my health is not good, I think there's something wrong with my health, then you're going to manifest something being wrong with your health. It might not be something terminal. It might not be something, it might not be a chronic illness, but you're going to manifest something. If you focus on that long enough, it's not just the fact that you're looking at negative health, it's that you're feeling the feelings of negative health. You're feeling the feelings of despair. You're feeling the feelings of powerlessness. You're feeling the feelings of panic. And it's the vibration of that panic and that despair that attracts or manifests in illness. It's not just your focus. It's not just what you're focusing on, but it's how what you're focusing on makes you feel. Am I saying every single person who has ever been sick or is experiencing some sort of illness or blah, 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 they are low vibrational and blah, blah, blah? I'm not saying that. I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't give a fuck what you believe. This is what I believe. This has really helped me as somebody who deals with chronic illness. I do take medication, and also me being able to get the right medication for myself, me being able to become even more healthy in my body did come as a consequence of me doing a lot of healing around shit that happened in my childhood that directly contributed to the manifestation of my chronic illness in particular. So, for example, what I'm saying, and I'm so sorry for coughing in your ear. I forget this microphone is really sensitive. What I'm saying is that when I was a kid and I was feeling lonely and I was feeling abandoned and I was feeling not good enough and I was feeling judgment, and I started to get sick, things were all in alignment. It was like there was a correlation there. We're not going to talk about my entire life story, but there was a correlation there. Now, my relationship with myself, my ability to take care of myself, has expanded exponentially because I have developed a better feeling relationship with myself over the years. So, a really simple example is like with my chronic illness, if I don't take care of myself immediately when I start feeling sick or something starts getting bad in my body, if I don't listen to me immediately, things will get worse and worse and worse. It can get to the point where I need to have surgery. I remember when I was in high school and I went to the doctor, and my pediatrician and we were very, like, I don't know. We don't have time to talk about it. I liked my pediatrician when I was in high school. Not liked. I liked her as a person. So I went to go see her, and she was like, basically, she was like, you know what to do to take care of yourself so that things don't get this bad. Like, why don't you just do what you need to do to take care of yourself? And she kind of said it like she kind of laughed, but it wasn't like, it was kind of like mind blowing. It was kind of like, I don't understand. There's no reason that you need to be suffering in this way. Why aren't you doing the things that you need to do? It doesn't make sense. Sometimes all you can do is laugh. All you can do is laugh to keep from crying type thing. You know, it was kind of like that. But where was I in a place when I was in high school? Did I grow up in a family or a household where I was being taken care of and being looked after and being seen and being actively raised? No. Was I having an experience growing up where when I was in emotional pain, my parents were responding to me, taking care of me, soothing me, supporting me, helping me to regulate my emotions? No. What happens as a consequence of that experience? I ignore my emotional pain. We've talked about this in previous episodes. There is no compartmentalizing. You don't have an experience where you don't take care of yourself emotionally, but you take care of yourself physically and everything is so perfect. That's not happening. That's not real. So I'm not saying they don't look like that. There's a lot of people who look good. There's a lot of people who look healthy. There's a lot of people who look a lot of ways, but they're suffering. So anyway, I have an experience where I don't take care of myself emotionally. And that also leads me to having an experience where I don't take care of myself physically. I don't take care of myself. This is in the past. I don't take care of myself physically until it's an absolute emergency. I ignore myself when I am in pain. That was my experience. So over the years, as I healed, as I processed the shit that happened to me as a kid, as I began to reparent myself with love and understanding and compassion, my relationship with self, my relationship with my physical body changed. Where showing up for myself physically was about just showing up for myself, was about just loving myself, was about just parenting myself and taking care of myself. So my chronic illness, even though things are looking so amazing because I'm on medication that works for me incredibly well, my chronic illness also does not get to the point where it's so bad and it's so terrible and I have to have surgery because I show up for myself, because I take care of myself, because I'm very not just mindful of that, but I take action in alignment with that. I was not doing that back in the day because of my relationship with myself. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So I do believe that there is a link to certain illnesses and different things like that that we experience. That does not mean every problem. How do I want to say that? I don't believe that every physical thing that happens to us is necessarily a problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that if you have ADHD, it's because of your vibration, you know? I don't think that. I don't feel that. I don't believe that, right? So we can't just say these spiritual concepts and not give examples, because we want to be mindful of that whole conspirituality thing. We want to be mindful of the spirituality to alt-right fucking pipeline. We want to be mindful of the spirituality to ableism pipeline. I don't believe there are certain things that are bad and unworthy of love, and the reason why this happened is because of your thoughts and blah 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 blah. Do I believe that there's a correlation between our mind and our body? Yes. Do I believe that when we process our experiences from the past and when we develop supportive mindset tools and techniques, that we can show up for ourselves better and create a higher quality of life for ourselves? Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's my perspective. It's really important for me to include that there, because it can, get a little bit spooky ooky, and I don't want to go there, and I don't want to be one of the reasons why you go there as an audience member either, right? So, okay, we have that. Abraham Hicks' law of attraction teaches you don't focus on the negative, you focus only on what you want. So, for example, if you're doing affirmations, or you're doing a spell, you're setting intentions, you're doing incantations or whatever, and you say, I lack nothing, I lack no good thing, Abraham Hicks and law of attraction would say, don't say that and don't focus on that. Because when you say, I lack no good thing, you're focusing on lack. Instead, they would say, they would tell you to say, instead of I lack no good thing, what's the opposite? I have every good thing. I have everything I desire. I am fulfilled. I am always taken care of. I am unconditionally shown up for. So sometimes we play around with words like this because when we use certain words, we feel certain energies. Now, if you're coming from a place and if you say, I lack no good thing, if that makes you feel abundant and that makes you feel taken care of and that makes you feel appreciation, then go ahead and do that. In general, you're probably going to be focusing on lack. What am I lacking? I'm lacking nothing. It's a little bit sticky energetically. What am I missing? Am I missing something? These words, missing, lack, need, they can be triggering, not triggering like it's going to trigger your PTSD, but they can be triggering like it's going to make you feel unsupported, make you feel like you're missing something, make you feel like you're lacking something. And that's not the most supportive thing available. So they're going to tell you to shift your focus. They're going to tell you to shift your focus to, what do you want? What do you desire? And that's valid, and I've focused in that way a lot. But today's episode, we're going to go to a higher level. And we're really already in that higher level because we've just had a conversation about vibration. We've just had a conversation about the fact that it's not the words that matter, but it's how the words make us feel that matter. Okay? So we're in a higher level conversation. in this higher level conversation, we're talking about manifestation. We're talking about getting what you want. We're talking about getting what you desire. Now, sometimes we can feel so fucking frustrated, right? We can feel like it's not happening, it's not showing up, it's taking forever, it's not available to me, I'll never get that. People are telling me this is impossible, it's not working, right? We have all of these unsupportive thoughts and beliefs. And during certain times, when our physical reality is showing us unwanted thing after unwanted thing, it can feel so hard to tap into the vibration of our desire. In other words, it can feel so difficult to see ourselves succeeding. And when you're having one of those moments, but you still want to manifest, you still want to live in the end, you still want to focus on getting to where you're going, this is what I suggest you do. Pull out a journal. Listen, I was doing the digital journaling thing. I'm not anti-digital journaling. I'm liking it. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to use my digital journal just for me, like, to keep up with things, because in my physical journal I don't typically say like, dear diary, it's June the 3rd and this is what happened today. I don't typically do that. In my diary it's like, what am I releasing, what am I letting go of, what am I moving on from, what am I stepping into, right? So I've been feeling like my digital journal is going to be like my dear diary place, like, this is what I'm thinking, this is what happened today, blah blah blah. And the reason why I share that is because I know sometimes we have digital journals, but I am going full on pen to paper. Nothing shifts me like pen to paper. I did the Independent Bitch Bootcamp challenge back in April, and it was good and it did shift energy. I didn't get results in the same way as when I write shit down and put pen to paper. Obviously, the Independent Bitch Bootcamp is my program. Obviously, it's amazing. Obviously, my ladies manifested money. Obviously, growth and expansion is growth and expansion. But I'm saying for me personally, I get better results when I have a pen in my hand and I am putting that pen to paper. I literally have a callus on my middle finger of my right hand. It's maybe has gone down a little bit because I haven't been doing my journaling physically. But anyway, I like to write in a physical journal. I suggest you write in a physical journal. And what you're going to do is you're going to maybe close your eyes, maybe take 5 deep breaths. You're going to tap into the version of yourself who is on the other side. And then you're going to ask yourself the question, what stories did I release to get here? And then it's like you are recalling what you moved through, what you released. And while you're writing this out, you're also releasing that energy. You're tapping into and you're practicing embodying the version of yourself that is released what no longer serves her. So, for example, what stories did I release to get the apartment that I wanted? I released the story that things can't happen for me quickly. I released the story that my income couldn't increase by tens and hundreds of thousands quickly and easily. I released the story that hundreds and thousands of people could not afford to pay me. I released the story that hundreds and thousands of people were not ready, willing, and eager to pay me. I released the story that women in my audience didn't want what I had to offer. I released the story that I was incapable of creating this kind of success for myself. I released the story that I was powerless to show up for myself consistently. I released the story that the world was abandoning me. I released the story that the world might abandon me. I released the story that the world might not show up for me. I released the story that I had to be afraid of life and people. I released the story that people are not trustworthy. I released the story that I could not rely on the world to show up for me, right? So you're going to go on that, and I'll leave that at that. And as you're answering that question, you're acknowledging the current story that you're telling. You're acknowledging the stories that you've been telling, but you're acknowledging those stories from the perspective of that's old news. I released the story that said it had to take a long time and it showed up quickly, right? So once you answer that question, you're already scripting, you're already tapping into that version of yourself who has what she wants and what she desires. If I was going to challenge myself, I would spend 21 to 30 days at least scripting once a day on what did you release. And as you're answering that question, you're visualizing that version of yourself. You're tapping into that energy. You're becoming the woman who released that story, which is so good. So this is really the tool that you want to use, the question that you want to use, the journal prompt that you want to utilize when you're feeling frustrated, or you're feeling held down, or you're feeling like there's a hurdle that you just cannot overcome, or you're feeling like there's a limiting belief that just will not go away. Now, here's what I'm also going to say. Sometimes on your journey, there's like certain limiting beliefs that feel bigger for you than others. There's certain manifestations that feel more challenging for you than others because there's more things for you to work through. Like in my business, growing and expanding my sales and my income, it did not just look like me working on my relationship with money and allowing money to come in. It also looked like me working on my relationship with abandonment and my relationship with rejection, and growing up as a neurodivergent kid who is also undiagnosed, and all of the terrible, horrible experiences that come along with that, and how as a consequence of those experiences, I was telling the story that I don't belong in the world. People don't want me in the world. And so from that place of me not belonging in the world, of people not wanting me in the world, my art, my courses, the things that I create are an extension of me. My videos that I create are an extension of me. And so if people don't want me, then they're not going to want my videos. They're not going to want my courses. They're not going to want my offers. They're not going to want my meditations. So I have, over the past several years, been doing a lot of work on different aspects that are all underneath the umbrella of getting more money and getting more sales. So if you're feeling frustrated because you're like, I have not moved through this, I have not gotten the breakthrough that I want here, you probably just have more things to clear out, more things to move through. It might not be the same old shit. It might be something completely different. So give yourself grace. And there's a part of allowing the journey to unfold in front of you. And I believe in personal accountability. That does not mean judgment. That does not mean blame. That does not mean shame. That does not mean guilt. That means looking at what is alive within me. What stories am I telling that are not supporting me? What stories am I telling that are making things harder for me? If I'm telling the story that jobs have to be difficult, that's making it harder for me. If I'm telling the story that bosses always micromanage me and they're cramping my style, that makes it harder for me. If I'm telling the story that people can't support me, that makes it harder for me. So what stories are you telling that aren't supporting you? We call these limiting beliefs. They're unsupportive thoughts. You want to move through them. You want to shift them. You want to debunk them. And when you're journaling and you're answering this question of what did I release, you're becoming a vibrational match to solutions. Okay, Abraham Hicks talks about this. There's two sides of one stick. You can focus on the problem, but you're not going to be a vibrational match to the solution. The solution is on the other side of the stick. You can only focus on one side of the stick at any given moment in time. So drop the problem and focus on the solution. This is a really great transitional exercise for the woman who is ready to be ready to be ready to drop the problem. If you're like me, you can hyperfixate on the unsupportive thoughts, on the unsupportive beliefs, like, why isn't it moving? Why isn't it shifting? There's something deeper in there. I can feel it in myself and with clients in sessions. It's like there's a tension or a string, and I can feel that tension in my body, or I can feel that tension in my client's body, and I know to keep going and keep moving energy in a session until they have that breakthrough and there's that release of that tension. So sometimes I can get caught up in that, feeling like there's tension somewhere, feeling like there's something else I haven't gotten to it, and just continuing to dig and dig and dig. It's well intentioned, but I'm still focusing on the problem. So in this case, because I don't want to completely drop the problem, that doesn't feel good to me, because I do not want to get spiritual bypassy. Sometimes, if I'm feeling super triggered, I'm feeling super unsafe, I'm feeling really frustrated, just ignoring my problems and focusing on the solution, it feels like spiritual bypassing. It doesn't make me feel good, and it makes me feel even more panicked. So I call this a transitional exercise, because it's perfect for when you're not ready to fully drop the issue, but you want to start tapping into that living in the end energy. So that's the exercise you're going to do there. And then if you want to take it a step further, or after a couple of days, after 5 days, after 3 days, after 7 days, like after a week, after 2 weeks, after 21 days of answering this question and tapping into this energy of, what did that version of yourself release? Did she release the story that she's not capable? Did she release the story that she's not lovable? Did she release the story that she's not ready? Did she release the story that there's not enough for her dream wardrobe? Did she release the story that there's not enough for the shoes that she wants? Did she release the story that she can't afford to travel? What story did she release? You're going to tap into that energy. And then to take it a step further, now you're going to tap into, okay, and what did she gain? What happened as a consequence of that? Now you're moving not further into that scripting territory, but this is still scripting. So what did I release? I released the story that things couldn't shift quickly for me. I released the story that everything was moving slow. I released the story that my dream life was light years away and it was impossible for me. I released the story that I was unsupported. And what happened when you released that story? Well, when I released those stories, sales started coming into my business. When I released the story that the world wasn't showing up for me, sales were coming in every single day, and I was able to make significant strides in my financial goals. When I released my unsupportive stories, I was able to attract and allow in the women in my audience who want what I have to offer. When I released the story that nobody in my industry was hiring, I was able to attract and allow in multiple job offers, and I actually chose the job that felt most aligned with me. Okay, so you're getting more awareness while you're doing this exercise. Let those unsupportive stories come up, and you're talking about it in the past tense. It's something that already happens. You're not saying, I believe that it has to be difficult for me. You're saying, I got to the other side. I reached my financial goal. I moved into the apartment of my desire. I moved into the home of my desire. I bought the car of my desire, and I released the story that I was incapable. I released. You're talking about it from the past tense. You're on the other side and you're reflecting on what you did. You're reflecting on what you let go of. And then you want to expand into, and this is what happened as a consequence of me letting go of that energy. And I am experiencing that sometimes feels better than just jumping to life on the other side where I got everything that I want and blah, 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 blah. Okay? From that place, you can pull out different journaling scripts. You can pull out different journaling prompts. And that's fabulous. You can go deeper into the exercise even. You can tap into, what did you release? And then you can do breath work. You can do EFT tapping, right? You can do something that makes you feel supported somatically in releasing and clearing that energy. And then you can go even further into what is life like on the other side? What are you doing there? What does it feel like to be there, right? This exercise, you can use it whenever you like, but it's going to be really super helpful and super impactful when you're just feeling stuck and frustrated and like nothing is working and blah, 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 blah. And you're just hacking away at it, but you're not seeing the progress that you want. What are you now releasing? You're releasing the story. You released the story. You're on the other side. You released the story that it wasn't working. You released the story that you're powerless. You released the story that you couldn't figure it out. You released the story that God wasn't on your side, etc., etc., etc. Okay. I love you lots. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give the podcast a 5-star rating or a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you would like more support from me, I do have multiple resources available to you in the description box. I have meditations, I have training bundles, which are kind of like miniature courses. Excuse me, I burped. And I also have full on courses that are more in depth. So you can click the links in the description box, look at what sounds good to you, and enroll where you feel called. I love you lots, and I'll talk to you more in the next episode.